Hey y'all, Irix Guy here. Now what I want to talk about today is how to move data from one Mac to a new Mac. Now this is something that would be applicable to anyone that has purchased a new Mac computer and they want to move over their pictures, their videos, their documents, etc. So what I'm going to do is make this as simplistic as possible. So the first thing that one wants to do is determine, okay, do I have one account on this Mac computer, or do I have multiple accounts? Maybe it was shared among multiple family members. If it's shared among multiple family members, each one of those accounts has its unique set of documents within that login. So what I'm going to explain is how to do it per account, keeping in mind that if you have more than one account on that Mac, that you're going to need to repeat these steps for each individual account that's present on that Mac. So here's the things to do. Log into the account and go to Documents. Documents is most often where everyone saves their files. So go in there. That's something that's going to need to be backed up. What I recommend doing is either utilizing a network drive or a locally attached external hard drive and dragging these items file by file over to that external drive. So for this being user, in my case it was user 1 of 1. I didn't share my computer with anybody. So in my case I would take, on the external drive, I'd make a folder and I'd call it Irix Guys Backup, and then I'd put a date beside it so I know which date I backed those files up. I would drag all the folders, all the files from my documents in there. And I'd probably just create a folder that says My Documents, put them in there. Also a place that's important is downloads. If you've downloaded files, maybe you didn't clean them out of the download folder, be sure to back those up if it's stuff that you want. A super important thing, if you're a video content creator, which I am, Irix Guys Adventure Channel, is to back up all of the video files. Now most often, those can be found under the user's profile in the Movies folder. So go into that Movies directory, and you can find, in my case, Final Cut Pro. So I've got Final Cut Event, Final Cut Projects. If you're an iMovie user, you should see all of that in there. Drag all of that content to a folder, and you can just call it Movies or whatever. I like to keep the convention, the naming convention for the backup, the same as the actual place where it's stored, and that makes it easier when you get to the moving it to the new Mac step. So you got documents on your external backup drive. You've got movies on your external backup drive. You got downloads on your external backup drive, so forth and so on. So that's going to cover that. Now if you use iPhoto, you're going to want to make sure that you get from your pictures directory, there will be a file in there called iPhoto, and that should contain all your photos. Now keep in mind, if you've manually dropped files anywhere else, or photos or anything else in there, they may appear, so get those as well. So check those. Just to recap: documents, downloads, movies, pictures. Those are very key places to look. Now the other things to look at, your desktop. Most all of us drag files on our desktop. And if you're like me, even though I keep my desktop very clean, there's still files and directories lingering around on that desktop. Make sure you back up your desktop. So, again, make you a folder on your backup drive called Desktop, and then when you're in your user's account, go to Desktop and just drag everything over to that folder on your external backup drive. So that's going to cover those items. Now what we have not yet covered, we haven't covered email, and we have not covered the applications that are installed. So what you're going to want to do is do an audit of all your applications, and once you do that, see if there are any files that these applications store to your computer, maybe in different paths on your computer that's outside of those directories that we just backed up. So make sure that you get all the files that are created by your applications. Also make sure that you have your application installation media. Now fortunately, with most new Apple applications, unless you purchase them on disk, most of those were likely purchased online from App Store, which means that you should be able to just re-download those from App Store to your new computer. So keep that in mind for sure. But if you need to have installation files, maybe you save those files, maybe they didn't come on CD, maybe you save files somewhere on your hard drive in your Mac, be sure to back those up, because otherwise you're not going to be able to reinstall your applications. The email piece is very easy, but it's very sensitive. I've created a separate video on Irish Guys Adventure channel, and it's how to move email from one Mac to another Mac. Check that out for a screenshotted step-by-step process there for how I did that. And let's see, what else? I mean, you just really need to put all of these files on that external drive, and then once you've done that, copy them all to your new Mac and run everything. Make sure that you got all your photos. Make sure you've got all your movies for your Final Cut Pro and or iMovie. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. And make sure that all that information is there on your new computer, accessible, and works great before you go through with deleting anything from the old Mac and or the external hard drive that was used to back up the old Mac. Because you don't want to get into a situation where you've sold or traded or just disposed of that old Mac computer and then realize that, oh, I forgot to get this information or that information. Because once that computer is physically erased, once that computer is erased and or physically gone, that data is probably never going to be able to be recovered again. So, take your time. This is a slow process. Take your time and make sure that that you got everything. But that's it at a high level. That's the joy of a Unix-based system like a Mac versus a PC. PCs tend to put junk everywhere. Even if you're a very well-organized PC user, it tends to put files all across the board. But Macs are somewhat clean the way that they organize the data. So this is just a high level where the data would be. Ultimately, everyone needs to go into the root of their hard drive on their Mac and just go through directory by directory, making sure that there's nothing that was put in an off-the-wall location, because that's stuff that's easy to forget, stuff that's easy to go missing. And a prime example for me, I did all of this, and after I had done the decommissioning of my old Mac, after I've done the Command R to actually delete all the data, I realized that I had lost about 5 years of GPS data, because when I go cycling, I wear a GPS satellite linked watch, and it tracks all my calories burned, my route, and everything. I lost all of that information, which is disappointing, but fortunately I'm not a competitive athlete from the standpoint that I've got to retain that data, so I was fortunate there. But that's just one example of taking the time when doing this to ensure that everything is there. And my best advice would be to use that new computer, the new Mac computer that the data has been transferred to. Use it for a few days or a week or so, if time permits, just to go through and potentially discover those tasks that you perform on a daily basis. Maybe a weekly basis or whatever, that you would be performing and realize, hey, I forgot to grab that from the old Mac. So this is just my advice, again, providing this for entertainment purposes only, and I should not be held responsible for any data loss that may be realized as a result of following these steps. This is what I did, and as you can see, by performing these steps, I missed my GPS data from my Garmin wrist wearable GPS watch. So thanks for watching. Hope this video helps. Feel free to share it with others, and check out my other videos too, and be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/IrixGuy. Y'all have a good day.